You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I am your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy!
Yeah.
It's been a crazy roller coaster of a week, man. It really has.
Yes, it has.
If you're a New World fan, maybe you don't know, maybe you do know. We're going to address it all on the podcast, so we will keep you informed and up to date. Real quick, we just want to do a quick thank you to our patrons. The number continues to grow to our surprise. You guys are awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for supporting, obviously, New World to Go, New World fans. All of our New World content. We appreciate it so much, and we just want to extend that offer or that thank you to you guys. Obviously, at the end of all of our YouTube videos, you guys get a nice little credit roll at the end. So thank you at the beginning as well. Also, guys, check out the YouTube channel. If you're a listener of the podcast, go check out our YouTube channel. We just hit 800 subs, which is insane for us. We've been doing this since November. We basically just posting videos every day at 8 a.m. New World videos, and a little bit of other content over there as well. And then New World fans, of course, guys. We just put up, as in Taken is part of the we. He put up a skill line of every weapon. So if you go to our database and click on the weapon, you can now see the entire fleshed out in-game skill tree that would, as of the Amarine Expedition event. Let's just be very specific about that. All those skill trees are lined out for you guys. You can look at the passive and active skills. It's dope. I'm extremely excited to have that on the website. I'm very grateful to have Taken as a partner in the Studio Loot team. So, if you guys want to see those, check those out over at newworldfans.com.
Yep. Huge shout out to Taken, man. It looks amazing over there. He did a great job, as always.
He was supposed to be here on this episode, by the way. And he dodged, bro. Professional dodge. He said, I'm working on New World fans. I worked on it too long. Can't be there. But let it be known on the record, he was supposed to be here. So if he pulls another one of those cards where he's like, they never invite me to the show or they never let me do YouTube, poppycock, okay?
You guys can call him out.
Yeah, for sure. Get in the Discord and call him out for sure. He'll like that.
Speaking of the Discord, man, it's grown just a crazy amount over the past month. So thank you guys for joining that. If you guys want to jump in the Discord, if you're a part of this podcast or have been watching the videos or just want to talk about New World in general, or any games for that matter, jump in the Discord, and man, we'd be more than happy to have you over there. It's a great place to be. We have a really good community over there.
We do, for sure. So the first thing, and this is real quick, we got mentioned, the show, if you're a fan of the show, you probably know, we got mentioned in a dev update by Scott Lane. It was extremely out of the blue for us. We had no idea that was going to happen, but just the gratitude that we have, again, for our community, even for the New World team, we're very thankful to be part of this community. And we just say all of it's because of you guys listening to the show and watching our YouTube videos and propping us up in the community. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you guys so much for making that possible. It's a big day for us, man. We do a lot of work and have done a lot of coverage and work on New World in the past. So having something like that happen is extremely rewarding for all three of us. And again, just thank you guys for your continued support.
Yeah, that was a mind-blowing day, man.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. I didn't watch the video until a little later, and Taken had messaged us on Discord, and he was like, man, you really need to watch this. And so I took time.
He was trolling.
I
was like, what happened?
I did too. I didn't know either. I was at work. And so I was busy with work, so I didn't get to catch the video right whenever it released. And then he pinged us, and I watched, and my mind was blown, man. My mind was blown to actually be mentioned by name, our show mentioned by name in that video. So a big shout out to Mr. Scott Lane over there for mentioning us. We appreciate that, man. That was truly incredible, man. It made our day, probably made our week. It was awesome.
Yeah,
really awesome.
And again, we've had a ton of support on the show. The New World Order show. Again, McLeod and Commander Ace have both been on the podcast. So we think, again, they're like the only guests I think we've had so far. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so,
I think so.
Those guys, again, are awesome. Go check out their podcast as well. We just thank them for being part of this. And we're on episode 67 now, which is insane. So just a recap of all that. I know that we're kind of dragging things out maybe at the beginning, but we're, again, extremely grateful to every one of you guys who have been part of the show and for making that moment possible. So we wanted to extend that as well at the beginning of the episode. Unfortunately, we're going to take a little bit of a turn here, and it's something that everybody's been asking us if we're going to address or not. We've had some time to think about it, go over the information. It's a big topic here in the New World community at this moment, and it was the kind of the what happened after that developer video, which was a leak in the NDA information from a alpha post in the alpha forums onto Reddit. And so, Bordy, real quick here, we can kind of go over that information. So basically, summarized, it was the leak of a mention of a cash shop in the game. Now, this is not the first time they've mentioned a cash shop ever. They've definitely been upfront about the presence of a cash shop within New World. The thing that really set, I think, the conversation off was the inclusion in quality of life items in the cash shop, such as like XP boosts, boost to XP gain with crafting and gathering, and other quality of life issues, which started this massive conversation that we're going to talk about tonight. We planned on doing or covering the May update patch notes, and we may do that on this episode, depending on how long this conversation goes. But we just kind of wanted to address it on the podcast. I think this is, a place that most of our community kind of comes to and listens to, rather than in like a separate YouTube video or something like that, and just kind of use this platform to kind of address it all at once. So if it does run into like 25 or 30 minutes of conversation between me and Bordy, then we'll just cover the patch notes on the next episode. And that way we don't hold you guys too long. We kind of like to keep these guys short. That's kind of our MO, or has been our MO in podcasting, is to try to keep these in a pretty digestible form. So if it gets long, then just know that the next episode will be covering the May update patch notes and all of the other information that's been presented this week, which is a ton of information. Honestly, a lot of changes to the game. So Bordy, here we go. First and foremost, I think it's important to address this, and this is the manner in which this information was brought to us, which was a break in the NDA, which is something that, again, we are both part of the alpha. We're allowed to say that. Obviously, I know a lot of people in our community are as well. There's a lot of people testing the game right now, and this is something that when you do kind of sign up for this alpha situation where you're testing stuff under NDA, this isn't good. This isn't a good look to present information, from the beginning. So Bordy, what do you think about, again, just the overall presentation of the information?
So are you talking about the overall presentation of the information of the initial leak, or their follow-up, or both?
No, the first is just like the way this all started, which is like a leak. Someone in the alpha clearly copy pasted the message from New World into the alpha testers into Reddit, basically.
So we're talking about specifically
we're starting at the beginning,
leak of the NDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the first bit of leak, the information that was leaked, yes.
So the leak of the NDA was awful, man. I'm not sure who leaked it, or
probably doesn't matter at this point. Honestly.
It doesn't matter at this point. It really doesn't. But whoever leaked it, man, if you're ever participating in an NDA event, man, just keep it under NDA. There's no reason to post this out there to the public, because it's all this stuff is still under testing. It's under scrutiny by the team. They post this stuff out there for the testers to see, for the testers to use, and then for somebody to leak that is pretty sleazy, in my opinion, man. It shouldn't have ever been leaked in the first place. But on the flip side of that, man, if this was something that Amazon, and the New World team had kind of debated on internally, or if this was something that they thought would be a hot button issue, which kind of, it seems like you would think that, hey, this is probably a pretty hot button issue. Maybe we shouldn't include this yet, or whatever. it's a little naive on their part too to think that this stuff's not going to get leaked, because we've had leaks a ton before. Almost every piece of information that happens, it gets leaked on Reddit, and especially something like this that could present some negative press. People feed off of negativity a lot of times. They try to spin things around to be negative, and this was just, it was one of those things. It's like, well, they seen it, they immediately leaked it. And here we are. Whoever leaked it, man, not a cool move, though, in my opinion. Like, you shouldn't be spewing out NDA information like that. It's pretty poor judgment.
Well, and I think, again, to your point, I think it's unreasonable for like this probably not to get leaked. This is just something that is just such a hot button topic in the MMO generation, or genre, excuse me, as a whole, which is like a pay to win type of experience in these games. We know from games like ArcAge that it just basically collapses the entire community, which, obviously, these people are just expressing their concern about this information that was presented. But I don't, again, approve of the way that it was done. This can be obviously probably taken care of within the alpha forums, because a lot of us that are testing the game communicate with the devs on feedback, and they made changes I would say pretty well in the past as you're testing the game and as you provide feedback in the alpha. If enough people get together and express concern about something, I've seen them directly change the game because of that feedback. So, again, obviously, we're not promoting the leaking of any NDA information here. We just, I think it could have been easily something that could have been taken care of before the game released in a correct fashion, which is when you're on an NDA contract, you need to address in the alpha forum in a line of communication that is acceptable underneath that, agreement that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was pretty rough, but again, a little naive to think that it wasn't going to get leaked. Because we all know that it's going to get leaked. So
that's important. Again, it's one of those things we just wanted to announce up front, because I want to look at this in a very reasonable way that makes sense on both sides. I understand, that there are a lot of uproar and concern about this. So we're going to get into it here. So basically the gist of this debacle is the mentioning of having these items present potentially on release in the cash shop store. That to me is the main problem, Bordy. You see a lot of other people complaining about a cash shop as a whole, which, again, if we're trying to communicate effectively with a company that's producing a game, telling them not to sell things to you is probably not the most effective way. Me and you have played a ton of things, a ton of MMOs here recently and in our past, and unfortunately, cash shops are a big part of the games now. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, ESO, all of these games, which are basically the big three I would consider in the MMO genre. All of them have all of the items that New World has presented. They all have New World doesn't have a sub, but the rest of those games have a sub. ESO's is optional, but ESO's sub gives quality of life features built into it with increased bag space, which to me is like the most annoying feature of that sub. Having to manage your bags in a way like without subbing is completely annoying. But those three games all have those things. They all three of them have subs. One is optional, obviously. They all have cash shops that sell cosmetic items for sure. And most of them, I'm not completely familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, but I do believe that they sell items to help you catch up with current content, help you skip some storylines that will help you progress through to your current content, while obviously boosts the character not to max level right off the jump. You boost up to the expansion, the current expansion, and then near the end of the expansion, they will allow you to boost like to your max level to experience they usually do patches progressively throughout the game, expansion's duration that allow you to play that current patch. And then obviously ESO has tons of, different ways to increase XP gain, increase all kinds of things in general. Black Desert Online, same story, obviously, probably worse, honestly. Black Desert has some pay to win mechanics to some extent. Obviously, you have to pay hundreds of dollars to catch up and get to a certain level. But they do have those type of features as well. I would consider that to be probably the fourth biggest MMO right now. So I think the main problem here, Bordy, and this will be our first topic to talk about, is providing these type of life or quality of life aspects at launch when there's no one at max level and when there's nothing to catch up on.
Yeah. So it's not good, man. It's kind of a bad move on their part, I think. So let me back up a little bit, and I'll tell you guys my exact stance on cash shops in general. Okay, this is where I stand with cash shops in general. I'm not a fan of cash shops. I don't think anybody in the MMO genre is, or in gaming is at all. I would much rather have. Okay, I come from an old school background. Now, this is unrealistic to think about in the times we're in now, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I would much rather have a buy-to-play game. I buy the game, and then I pay a subscription fee for the duration of the game. Then I buy expansions, and I pay the retail price for the expansion, and I continue to pay my subscription fee and not have any kind of in-game cash shop at all. Nothing. No cosmetics, nothing. I want to earn everything in the game because I don't like to look over to my left and see someone standing there in this crazy looking armor when they're level 1. That's pretty off-putting to me. I don't really like that. But every single game, every single MMO on the market right now has that. ESO that's the most recent MMO that we're really into, and it definitely had that in spades. I mean, you could buy these really, really cool looking outfits. You could wear them from level 1 until max level and switch them out, whatever. Costumes is what I'm talking about specifically. I'm not talking about like transmog stuff. I'm talking about costumes that just overlay your current outfit. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not a fan of any of that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of cash shops. However, with the age that we're in MMOs, cash shops are not going away. They won't go away. They're not going to go away. They're even implemented into single player games now. They're in gaming in general. They're embedded there. They're going to stay from now until probably forever. I don't ever see that changing because they're too lucrative. They're so lucrative because everybody is going to buy the stuff that's in the cash shop. Whether you agree with the cash shop or not, you're going to see a cool looking mount in there and you're going to buy the thing. That's just how it works. And I think that they're so lucrative that every MMO is implementing them and other games are implementing them because it's a proven monetization strategy, right? So we're gonna have cash shops no matter what. I don't like them, but they're here to stay. So we kind of have to move past that. Now, on to the point about having boosts in the cash shop on release. So an XP scroll or an XP gain most definitely can be argued that is a pay to win mechanic. Okay. I see that. I understand that. It's a pay to win mechanic. Now, should you have them on launch? Absolutely not, man. That in my opinion was a pretty bad move by their part. The wording in that was bad. Now, it might boil down to wording in the statement. It might be just that they were saying that they were going to could potentially have them in there, or they might have meant, hey, we're going to have them in the future in an effort for full disclosure and full transparency, which I respect. But the wording in there was not very good or very clear. And so it created this uproar. And I think that, having them in there on launch, if that was their plan, that is a huge misstep. And that would be detrimental to the game, in my opinion. They cannot have boosts or XP boosts or anything at launch. Now, later on down the road, I think that's a little bit a different story. And we can probably talk about that in a minute. Sure. So this doesn't go on so long, but that's kind of my take on it. My initial take. Cash shops, I don't like them, but unfortunately they're here to stay. So we have to adapt as players. We have to understand that they're here to stay. It is what it is, man. Every single MMO is going to have them. Upcoming MMOs are going to have them. Ashes of Creation is going to have a cash shop, even though they say it's going to be fully cosmetic. It's still going to be there. It's going to be a cash shop in the game. Every single game has a cash. So it is what it is. Now the boost, a different story. I hope they revise this and they don't have them on launch because that's going to be very bad. So I think they have
completely retorted that and said that at launch only cosmetic only. Again. Right. Yeah. Which is important. And I think this is where like things get muddy. Like, arguing about cash shops in video games is not just an MMO problem. It's not a New World problem. It's literally in every video game. And why?
It's an industry problem.
Yes, it's an industry problem, and the problem is not necessarily the companies. The problem is that it works. The problem is that people pay for this stuff in the cash shop, like you mentioned, and you made a good point. People, these businesses or these things that are meant to make money wouldn't institute these things in the game if they were causing them to lose profit. And that's just the facts. You know what I mean? They're everywhere. It's a big conversation as gamers to have. Some of these games that have cash shops are strictly like funded off of them, like free to play games. The cash shop is a big, obviously they're maybe their only source of revenue, but it is frustrating in games that you're already paying for, that you're potentially subbing to continue to have, this option presented to you to buy. But again, it is an option. These cash shops are I agree with you. They're here to stay. It's just unfortunate, but it's the truth. And I feel like it's a argument that it isn't worth having at this point, unless you're talking about, across the board with the problem. I think the main conversation, or the one that the New World community should be having, is what's in the cash shop. That is the important thing. That is what has destroyed games. And that's obviously as fans of New World, people that are looking forward to New World, that's the concern. We don't want the game to be dead on arrival, and you have all of these pay to win mechanics or like XP gain and boosts, quality of life things to be present, at launch would be severely or a severe misstep, like you had mentioned. So let's talk about this. They came out, they retorted the leaked information, saying that we would only do the cosmetic stuff in the game at launch. Now, they did not state that they would never, this is important wording, they did not use the word never when the institution of quality of life things would occur. So that means that potentially in the future, there might be quality of life things. They also mentioned that they are thinking about or considering, again, this is, a lot of people like to look into this stuff, but we just want to go with the facts, because, I don't like to waste time on what could happen necessarily right now. So the thing is they are looking at instituting a battle pass, which is like a sub. In my opinion, that's just another name for a sub. Now if that's over 2 months, 3 months, the $15 for the battle pass as you progress and play the game, it kind of promotes people to play the game more, to earn the rewards in the battle pass. They have mentioned that would be purely cosmetic, or for the most part, as we know right now, that would be a battle pass for cosmetic, and potentially unlocking some of the quality of life things that they, again, haven't instituted in the game yet, but potentially will. So this is the next part of the conversation, I think, Bordy, because we've kind of already established the cash shop thing. Me and you don't like them. I don't think a lot of people like them. You know what I mean? I think a majority of people don't, but I think that the cash shop is going to happen. And again, they were upfront about the cash shop. So it's like, if you didn't know that New World wasn't going to have a cash shop, you just haven't been paying attention. That's not their problem. It's yours. They've said numerous times that there would be a cash shop with cosmetics in it. So the main conversation, I think, is what's in the cash shop. So, Bordy, let's start with quality of life things and the approach. We've already addressed it on launch, but what is your take just in general on methods for players to catch up? And I think this is the best use of these that we've seen instituted in MMOs. Uses for players to catch up to current content, or potentially, like, if there's a new expansion, it just helps them catch up to be ready for the next bit of content that they're going to release. Maybe it increases the level, the level cap, etc.
Yeah. So again, my preferred method would be for this stuff to be earned in game. I think that having XP boost and whatever, if you can earn them in game and everybody can get them, that's fine. However, cash shops are lucrative, man, and it's just a part of the business, dude. On launch, detrimental to the game without a doubt. There's no doubt. But later on down the road, man, whenever people are max level and you're still trying to bring in customers, you have to have some sort of catch-up mechanic. And I'll tell you why. A lot of people don't agree with this, but I'm going to give you the perspective of a guy who works, 40, 50 hours plus a week, 2 kids, a wife, a life outside of video games. Let me give you a little perspective, because I think a lot of this uproar potentially is coming from people who can no life the game and play for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day or whatever. Like some of these content creators that are out there that are just flying off the rails about XP boosts. Well, in reality, the vast majority of your MMO players are a demographic like me, like you, Red. The people that are 30 plus years old, or from 25 years old to 40 years old, we have things going on. We can't no life the game. So if I'm looking at an MMO experience, which I still enjoy MMOs, and some people may say, well, don't play MMOs. Well, that's a little unfair, because I should still be able to play MMOs and enjoy them, right? I may not be able to play for 10 hours a day, but I should still be able to have a fun experience just like you. Like, why shouldn't I? So in that regard, I'm not arguing the fact that every game should have XP boost in the store. Okay, I'm not arguing that fact. I just said that I would much rather everything be earnable in game. However, later on down the road, and I'm talking about after the game has been released for 6 months, even a year, probably a year. All right, then adding XP boost to the game, I don't think is that big of a deal, because all you're doing at that point is you're giving other players like myself who can't no life the game for 10 hours a day an opportunity to pick up the game, buy it, catch up with their friends, and catch up with people who've been playing since day one, and actually compete in PvP, or actually play the game at a high level to go participate in all the content that's out there, when otherwise you may not have been able to. You may not be able to do those things. And I think that's an important aspect to look at it from that perspective and from that point of view whenever you're thinking about these boosts. Now, crafting boost, I don't know about that one, man. I'm kind of on the fence. Leveling in general is fine. The crafting XP, I'm a little on the fence there, because maybe you just buy your stuff and you reward the crafters who have been playing. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. But just leveling in general, being able to experience the game, I think is okay in the long run. Now, not on launch. I'm talking about like a year after implementing that into the cash shop. I think that's probably okay. So that's kind of my take on boost. And again, I wish we were in a world where there weren't cash shops, but that world doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't. We're past that. And once you add those XP boosts in there, they're going to sell. They're going to be lucrative. People are going to buy them. And that's where we're at, man. So that's my take on just boosts in general, man.
Well, here's the thing is I've bought and I've paid for boosts before. When I play World of Warcraft, when I come back to an expansion, if I want to try out a different class, now at this point I basically have all the classes at a reasonable level. But I've paid, if I want to try out Shaman, I go. And like you're saying, I don't have a lot of time to grind out alts and to do all that stuff that a lot of other people do have time for, or potentially, again, just don't even are interested in the feature at all. I will go and pay for a boost and boost a character up to an expansion, so I can experience the expansion with my friends that are able to play the game more than me, or maybe spend more time on it, than me. I think the best way that these are utilized, if they are introduced in a game, is a way to bring characters up to a current standard of content. So you would not get the best gear. You would still be at the bottom tier of that max level experience, or potentially just at the beginning of an expansion. So like right now, if Shadowlands is the max level, I think they reduced it to 60. So then everybody starts out at level 50. You can boost a character to 50, which is allow you to start the expansion from its beginning at level 50 and then progress to max level, which is level 60. Things like that, in my opinion, aren't a big deal. Those people who are buying those typically don't have the time to compete at higher level, like mythic rating or anything like that. They just don't have the time to progress to that point. So the boost isn't pay to win. The boost is just another way for that person to take a shortcut to experience some of the content within the game, like everybody else. Maybe they don't want to push to mythic rating. Maybe they just want to do looking for raid. just a common, easy tier raid, just to experience the story and everything like that. They don't have the time to get to the, level up a shaman or a healer or whatever the character they want to play potentially. So they just do that. I think that's fine. Black Desert Online, another example, they give you free XP boosts to help you get up closer because Black Desert Online doesn't have a level cap. So, that even further increases that gap between like casual players and hardcore players. Those things are okay to me. I don't like them. I obviously ideally would like everybody to earn everything in game, because me and you, since day one, playing MMOs, I guarantee we were some of the first people that ever played the genre as a whole. It was never like that. You earned everything when you walked up against someone and you saw their armor and you knew where that armor was from. That was from tier 1 rating. That was from this crazy hard dungeon or this rare drop from this other mob, or is from this extremely long legendary quest that took like 9 or 8, 10 actual in-game hours to obtain. And when you looked at that character, they looked sick. And you just knew that person is a good player. That person did this really hard thing to earn this thing. And the days of that type of thing, having that experience, especially with like transmog and everything like that, is a little diminished. It's going to be, no matter what game you play, no matter what experience you have. Now, there are ways to get around that. Maybe, again, having the opportunity to create cool looking gear that's obtainable in game that's equally as cool or more cool than the stuff you sell in the cash shop. There's ways around that now. So you can still get that. You can still provide that, that potential, that experience or that, environment in a game, even with a cap shop present. But as far as the boosting and stuff goes, I think where it gets to be too much is allowing people to catch up in like things you're saying, like crafting and everything like that. That basically, if you're a max level crafter, you can craft the highest level gear in the game. And so if I can boost to that, then you start to, that's where you start to draw the lines of like, okay, is this pay to win or is it not pay to win? Which I think is the number one priority, or should be the number one priority in any game developer, because it's been proven historically that will kill a game, is when your players who have developed or invested a lot of their time, and the time is very valuable, equally as valuable to money. If they've invested all their time into earning something and then you go ahead and give it to somebody else who just paid $60, that can be extremely detrimental to your community and the game as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that they can avoid that stuff, man, because it does just crush a game. And I think that's where all the passionate people are coming from New World right now, us included, is that we don't want to see that happen, man. We see the promise that New World has. It's going to offer a fresh experience in the MMO environment and the MMO genre. And for it to be crushed by some pay to win stuff, man, oh, man, that'd be heartbreaking, dude. It'd be heartbreaking to see that happen to this game. But just to reiterate, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that New World is going to listen. And after this statement, once you read through this statement and you don't just hot take the statement that they have here, if you read through this and you're really reasonable about what you're reading and understanding here, this statement isn't bad. There's some things in this statement that they came out with after this leak that probably aren't worded just perfectly, but some of this stuff is not bad. So they do state here that all store items at launch will be exclusively cosmetic in nature. So that's a plus. They did listen. They're not going to be introducing boosts or anything like that on launch. I just wanted to reiterate that. So then the other part of this, I'm going to read this other paragraph really quickly here. It says, looking towards the future, we'll also test ideas on how to offer players quality of life items for mechanics like rested XP and fast travel, both obtainable in-game and purchasable in the store. So we don't have a lot of information there about how they're going to be offered to us. Like, what does fast travel mean? I don't know. Can you just buy Azoth directly from the store, or is it who knows how that's going to be implemented? So all of those things are still up for debate. So for us as players to freak out about that at this point in time is a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction. We don't know what those are going to be yet. So maybe we should just calm down and see what those are going to be, right? And it also says that they're both obtainable in game and purchasable from the store. So you're kind of on an even playing field there. Then it says the timing of release for these types of items will depend on how the players progress in the months after launch. So then again, that goes back to my point about maybe a year after. Well, they're going to monitor that and then release those whenever they see fit, which who knows when that'll be. Hopefully their timing there is more appropriate than it was with this. And then it says the more players who are able to experience all of our exciting in-game content and game modes, the healthier the overall game experience will be for all players, which goes back again to my point of like people like us who can't reasonably get there with like a reasonable amount of time, get to end game to experience that stuff. If we start late, you jump into an MMO 2 years after the release date, man, or even a year after the release date, everybody's experiencing in-game content and you're still trying to level and you only have, an hour, 2 hours a night to play. It's going to take you forever to get there. And then by that time, another expansion is probably going to be dropping and you'll never catch up. And that's the premise behind an XP boost there. And, I heard Asmongold, not trying to call out Asmongold or anything here. I love Asmongold. He's awesome. He cracks me up. And I think some of the stuff he says is very intelligent, but he honed in on this too, about the more players able to experience all of our in-game content and game modes, the healthier the overall game experience will be for players. And he highly disagreed with that, saying that the player's skill level doesn't correlate to how healthy the MMO is. Well, I kind of disagree with that too, because he comes from a much different place than we do. He can sit there and play the game for 10, 12 hours a day. Well, we can't, man. We can't do that. And so having those things in the game help the majority of the players that want to experience in-game. MMOs, let's be real here, man. MMOs don't really start until you get to in-game. That's where things start. That's when you get to get the best gear. That's when you get to participate in all these crazy things. Like the end game of an MMO is where it's at. And that's why people try to get there. That's why people want to be there, because that's where a lot of the action happens. That's where a lot of the things take place and the fun really starts to happen. The competitive environment of an MMO starts to happen. So I do agree with that. Like the more people who can kind of make it to end game and experience all of the aspects that the game has to offer, then I think the healthier the game experience will be for all the players. So it's just kind of my take on it. I don't mind that. I think a lot of people read these things and they come from a much different area than the majority of the MMO players out there, right? Like the majority of MMO players out there, I would say the vast majority, probably 70%, if I'm just pulling that percentage out, are people who probably aren't even reading this right now, Red, to be honest with you. The people who don't even care. They're people who pre-order the game. They're going to play it no matter what, whenever it comes out. They're not following the news on it. They don't have time to. They're going to buy the game. They're going to play it whenever it drops, and then they're going to be happy about whatever happens,
Yeah, well, I know what comment you're talking. I think it was Kriparian that made the initial comment that like you should just make the the beginning.
It was in an Asmongold video.
Yeah. He was commenting on Kriparian, which is he's an old like high tier World of Warcraft raider, but he plays a lot of Hearthstone right now. The thing about that conversation. And there's some truth in it, because what they're saying, I guess, is like, the leveling experience should be equally as good as your in-game experience, meaning players should love to play the game to progress and desire to progress to in-game in that manner. Now, that on paper is really good, but like you said, that's fine at launch, but then later on down the line, when you're expecting to pull in new players that are in the most popular demographic within the MMO community, which is the working class, like 25 to 35 to 25 to 45. I know tons of people that are 45 to 55 that play the game. All of us in the work stage of our lives. The problem is feeling so overwhelmed to get into a game at that point and I've had this experience too. You want to try out a game, but the amount of features and the stuff you got to push through to even get to relevant content is just so overwhelming that it's not worth it. Like Final Fantasy 14 was like that to me. I've always been a World of Warcraft guy. I played a ton of Elder Scrolls Online at launch, and even me and you went back a year or so ago. We had a podcast and spent a ton of time in the game. But when we went to play Final Fantasy 14 or try out Final Fantasy 14, it was so overwhelming to start from the beginning and to not, and I didn't want to pay for anything. And that's part of it, I guess, is being in the cash up. You have to actually pay the money for it to use it. But I was so overwhelmed by that experience that it just completely turned me off of the game. I didn't, there's so much to catch up on.
That barrier to entry. Yeah, it's tough. And you want to make that an easy experience for people.
And so boosts and things like that can help out. And I think World of Warcraft has been the ones that noticed that first. is because they started including a boost with your expansion price. So basically, if you buy the most recent expansion, you, up until this last one, I think, got a boost up to the expansion, so you could start playing the game beforehand and experiencing, trying to get your character in line or experience the new content right from the jump. Especially because I had been gone. I think the last time I went back to WoW, I'd been gone for like 7 years or a long time. So then it was nice to have that boost feature to catch up, to experience where the game is right now, instead of go back to like level 1 and play those quests that I'd already done back in 2004 or 2003 when the game initially launched. Like, I don't want to go back and do that stuff again to try to catch up to everybody. And that's where those features, that's why people pay for them. That's why they're in games. They're in every MMO up to this date. And that's why every future MMO will consider this feature, is because, again, people like that just, they're going to pay the little extra money to experience the game with their friends that have been playing the game for a long time. And they want to get back in and give it a solid try again.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think the entire problem here, the whole problem here, it boils down to timing, in my opinion. It boils down to timing. 100%. And the wording of that leaked article said that they were potentially going to have them on launch, the boost and whatever on launch. It all boils down to timing, man. I really think that had that just not leaked, and really, I feel like for this next statement, I wish they would have just came out and said, hey, guys, we hear you. At launch, you're only going to have cosmetic items in the store, period. And that's it, man. I wish it would have been short and sweet and simple. And in this last paragraph here for transparency on future plans, as much as I appreciate transparency on MMOs, because I really, really do, I wish they would have left that part out about the battle pass. Listen, if you want to implement that later on down the road, then whatever. I'm not a fan of that.
We'll cross that bridge then.
Yes, I'm not a fan of that really at all. I would just assume not to have that in the game either, but I understand like all these other MMOs do it. Again, it's very lucrative. They're in this to make money. Obviously, whenever you make a video game, that's the end goal. You want to make money. It's a business, and I get it. But yes, let's cross that bridge whenever we get there. Like, you don't have to be completely transparent in this area. Like, think about it for a second and just keep that internal. And then just say we're not launching any cosmetic items, or we're only launching with cosmetic items in the store, period. And that's it. And then just leave it at that, and then just go about our merry way, and let's move on. It's just unfortunate the timing of everything that happened, and some of the wording that was in that alpha leak. It just kind of, I think, is kind of blown out of proportion, in my opinion. And I hope that they can reel it back in. And I hope that they really reevaluate their, if nothing else comes from this, I hope they really reevaluate their cash shop and their monetization strategies to adjust things to more please the players.
Yeah, and again, in their track record up to this point, they have instituted a lot of feedback from the preview event and made the game better. And so that's just one of those things that it's like this conversation that we're having, which it should be, two-way. I appreciate the devs addressing the concerns with the cash shop and everything like that. But this conversation should be an ongoing one. People should consider to have it in a reasonable manner. One that again is using facts and objective things rather than feelings, which is hard to keep your emotions out of something, especially if you're passionate about it. Me and you both are obviously really excited for the launch of New World and getting the opportunity to play the game in a live client. But to your point, the timing of both the potential institution of the boost feature and the announcement of further monetization strategies were both kind of untimely. Let's just say that.
Yeah, kind of missteps for sure. But hopefully we can move past this. Hopefully the community can move past this, and hopefully the game will still have a very successful, fruitful launch. But man. It's been kind of a roller coaster week, man, for sure.
Yeah. and guys, we're having an open conversation in our Discord. It's free to, we want to provide an environment that people can have a conversation, express their concerns and everything like that. I think New World wants to hear our concerns and an expression of those concerns and what we want to see and what we don't want to see. But, I think we obviously always stay in a reasonable state. It's not cool. Here's the thing. Jeff Bezos is not like sitting behind these people's desks saying like, hey, you got to push these features. These people are developers of the game. They put a lot of time and passion into this project. All these people that work on New World, from Scott, Greg, the community manager, the list goes on and on. They're passionate about New World and the success of New World just as much as we are. So and this is just a preface in any type of gaming community, just have respect for each other. There's no reason for personal attacks. Again, like it's not Amazon. The people that are delivering packages to your door are not the same people developing this game. I think that's kind of a silly stance to have. And yes, they do want to make money, but it's not Jeff Bezos, the dude that's counting his money probably perpetually at this point. Or, he doesn't even have to count money because he probably has to.
Has somebody do that for him, man. But, but I think it is important to keep the conversations constructive and not just blow a gasket whenever somebody says something you don't agree with. If somebody may be anti everything that they're saying, and that's okay. It's okay if that's everybody has their own opinion, and I think having these conversations constructively whenever things like this come up for a game, that's the best way to get your point across. And that's the best way to have change. The hot takes and the complete just bashing of everything without these constructive criticisms and the constructive conversations, that's not a good way to invoke change in any situation. So I feel like, sometimes things just get blown way out of proportion and people just have these hot takes without reading it and really kind of soaking in what's going on here and understanding the state of everything around you and why this is a thing. And they just kind of blow up about it. Well, it's important to not attack somebody either whenever they don't have the same opinion as you do. Just listen to them, hear them out, and then give your opinion. And that's how a conversation works. And that's what we should be doing as a community to try to help fix this problem. And move forward, man, to try to help make the game that all of us have followed for so long, try to make it better, try to make it something that we as players are going to enjoy and we as consumers are going to feel like we're getting our money's worth instead of just blowing up and having these crazy hot takes and freaking out about it. Let's just be constructive about it and try to change it, man, in a constructive way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to think anything else that you want to say. Again, we just want to address this once. I mean, obviously, if more issues or more information comes out that's worth addressing, we will. But this is something again that I think needed to be addressed. I think a lot of people on our Discord, at least, were asking us to address it, and obviously wanted to take some time to digest the information. So we waited to the podcast. So if you guys have any other concerns or anything like that, again, join the Discord. You can leave them in the comments below on the YouTube channel and all of that. But Bordy, anything else you can think of or any other points you want to touch on real quick?
I don't think so, man. I think I've kind of beat this topic to death at this point.
Sure. Yeah, we've went 47 minutes, which means we're probably not going to do the patch notes. We'll do the patch notes on the next episode. Again, guys, here's the thing. I think it's just, it's important to continue to keep the conversation lines open as a community, and obviously for New World to do the same. I think, again, track record shows, or at least I think it's reasonable enough to think that they've attempted to do that all since the preview event with the patch notes, presenting them to the public, which was a big step for us as content creators and just the community as a whole to see what they're doing, what they're changing, allowing for the people not in the alpha to provide feedback and all of those things to make the game better, which I think is extremely important. And they took the same approach with this one. Obviously it took an NDA leak to open this conversation. But nonetheless, I would almost guarantee that this was going to be a conversation whether the NDA leaked or not. And that's important. I think it's important to New World. I think it's important for us as a community to keep the lines open and to continue to communicate with one another and try to work this stuff out and make the game the best it is possible. Because here's the bitter truth: if you're an MMO fan, or the truth, however you want to look at it, New World is the first big MMO since Blessed Online. We all know how that went. If not, then just go look up a YouTube video. And then before that was Black Desert Online, which was a long time ago. Me and you looked it up one time. When did that game come out? I
don't remember, man.
It was like at least 6 years ago, I think. So this game is the next MMO coming up. Let's work together as a community, as an MMO community, and provide good feedback and information, and help build this game to make it what we want it to be. Because the New World, I guarantee the team wants the game to be successful. Because how are they going to monetize 0 players in the game? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Even if your stance is like they just want money, well, they're not going to get money from 0 players. So we, as a whole, as a community, and I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of the developers and in some events, and they all are so passionate about this game and the lore behind it and the setting behind it and the content behind, within the game. They want the game to succeed. So let's address things as two parties that equally want the same thing and just move forward. And that's going to be our approach always with Studio Loot as a company, because that, we can throw fits until we're red in the face. But I think the real change occurs when you start having open conversation lines and what needs to be changed and what people expect. And that's what we want to do here. That's what we've always tried to do. We've had some good examples in the past, and we'll shout out the Lore Seekers. I think Ninja614. A lot of people that we worked with in the Lotus of Doom is one of the most positive people I think I've ever met in my life. Those people awesome set a great example for us, and that is setting this as a community, as a family, in a positive nature that allows everybody, the community and the developers, to build a positive experience for the community, and that's what we want to do. So if you guys want to be participating in that, and we're not going to shy away from criticism. That's not what we're trying to say. We just want to do it in a manner that's productive and constructive. So if you guys have anything that you guys want to say, come join us in the Discord. Leave it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Real quick, Bordy, do we want to go ahead and do the company of the week real quick? Or
sure, man. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, we can do it. Hold on.
Or maybe it's better to end this and then have it on the next episode. Potentially.
Yeah. Let's have them on the next episode.
Man, so I don't want to. I want to be some vibe. Hyping. Yeah. We want to hype them up. We don't want to drag into it. So yeah. We'll wait. But we thank you guys again for your listening, for your support. Join in on the conversation with us, and again, help place New World in the best position possible to succeed, because that's what we all want. We want a fun game to play with each other. I've been looking for a game to start in from the ground floor and play with my boys, play with Bordy, play with everybody in the Discord, so we can all get in there and ground level. I just said ground level one, the ground floor, and experience the game together. You know what I mean? We've been waiting for this moment for so long, and it's close, man. It's 2 months away, and I just hope that we can all come together and make that experience the best as possible.
Absolutely, man.
All right, guys. Well, I think I've signed off 7 times at this point, so you're probably not listening. And if you are, thank you still, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.